Hello there again. Welcome back to the channel. Ryan Nordahl here, Epic Whitetail Habitat LLC. Today we're talking March deer chores. Better late than never, but deer hunting starts now. Well, as we're all aware, we're well into the month of March now. And if you haven't already, you're new to my channel, hit that subscribe button, give this video a like and a share. You want to stay to the end. Yes, I have the list here of things that you can do here in the month of March. But first, we're going to start with frost seeding. It is a great time. Now, we recently had a decent storm blow through the state of Wisconsin, especially northwest Wisconsin. We ended up with about an inch and a half of snow here, not very much, and really windy conditions. Not ideal for frost seeding at all. You could frost seed over a little bit of snow like this. But what is frost seeding? Frost seeding, gets really cold at night, back down below freezing temperature, below 32 degrees. Ground freezes hard. And, it's basically a freeze-thaw effect, expansion, contraction of the soil. We're frost seeding clover, alfalfa, chicory, switchgrass. You can frost seed switchgrass, but the area has to be prepared as well. And I'll create another video on the steps that I take for successful frost seeding and what it takes. But we want the soil prepared. We want the area that we're going to be frost seeding, whether we're overseeding an existing clover or alfalfa plot, chicory plot. If we're establishing switchgrass, if we're going to frost seed switchgrass in, we want those areas prepared. Meaning, we want, like if it's an existing clover plot and you've had a significant amount of snow, like we do get here in the upper Midwest, and I know these last 2 years haven't been much for snow, but there are areas that have had good snowfall in the upper Midwest this past winter. Those areas, the vegetative matter may be matted down to the ground. The idea is you want maximum seed to soil contact. So whether it's taking a harrow over an existing clover plot, chicory plot, or going out with a leaf blower, getting the leaf matter out. A lot of the clover plots that I have established are small little in-woods kill plots, and there's a lot of leaf matter that have covered those plots, and I got to get it off of there. Number one, it'll help stimulate the growth when we do get the right soil temperatures and those clovers start coming out of dormancy, and it'll just help. They won't have to struggle through that debris matter of leaves and stuff like that. But the idea is you want, if you're going to be frost seeding, you want to maximize the seed to soil contact that's out there. And it's a great way to establish clover, chicory plots, and again, switchgrass. Number two, moving on to hinge cutting and TSI work. It's a great time. We start getting up above 32 degrees, and of course, all winter long, I'm striving to, because technically when I'm recording this, we still are in winter, even though it is March. But anyway, I'm keeping my hinge cutting and a lot of work that I do when the temperature is above 32 degrees, especially if I'm hinge cutting, some of the maple, the cherry, box elder. And yes, I do love box elder for hinge cutting, and deer absolutely love it for browse. I know it's an invasive. I know I'm going to hear a lot of flack on it because I do all the time with box elder, but it has its place. I'm not saying to go introduce it or anything, and we'll save that for another time as well. But hinge cutting and TSI work, maybe you have a logging project that's coming up. Now's the time to get it done. I mean, we start getting into May. Here in Wisconsin, I know if you're going to be doing any oak, there's a time restraint. It's like May through July, the end of July, I believe, because of oak wilt, and we don't want it spreading at that time anyway. But if you're in a forest program, it's time to talk to your forester. Maybe there's some cost sharing opportunities with your forester. Not even if you're not in an MFL program, By that I mean a managed forest law program of any type. it's time to talk to a local forester. There's programs out there through the NRCS that can help offset the cost of any plantings you're going to be doing, as far as trees, shrubs, stuff like that. So, it's time to start thinking about the TSI work. It's time to start implementing some of that TSI and hinge cutting work that's out there. All of these ideas are just great ideas. We're all suffering from cabin fever. We want to get out here. Fortunately, in our neck of the woods, it's been a relatively warm winter again this year, going on 2 years in a row, and I've been out getting ahead of the program and getting things accomplished. But some of you aren't. There are places, I know, Upper Michigan, the UP of Michigan, Northern Michigan, they've all had they've had winter this year. Out east, New York, which I'll be going to New York here at the end of the month, and they've had good snows this winter, and guys are itching to get out there and get some things accomplished here this spring. Shed hunting. It's a great time to be out shed hunting with a family. I've done quite a bit of shed hunting this year. It's a lot different than last year. A lot of the deer in the area were shed off already mid-January, and I've been finding sheds. I think I found my first one actually on a client property in southern Wisconsin, down in Dane County. I was down visiting a revisit with a client down there, and we come into a south-facing slope, of course, and lo and behold, there was a shed. It was a decent-sized shed. I wouldn't say more than maybe a 3.5-year-old buck, but it was a great find nonetheless, and I found some decent sheds. And recently here, within the last week or two, I had my 8-year-old son out, and he was able to find his first shed of the season too, along with me. So that was a great thing to do. And now is a good time to start looking at new hunting property if that's what you're interested in doing this year. Maybe you are interested in purchasing a new property. The property that you have, maybe, because I work with a couple clients that they're small properties. They come in, they did a complete habitat plan and a complete habitat makeover. They hunted it for a couple years, took some great bucks off, and now they're flipping it. They're ready to move on to the next property, a little bit larger property. And, even going out and looking at public ground. I like to hunt public ground every once in a while. I haven't for the last couple of years, but in the past I've hunted public ground just to help keep the pressure off of my property, and I've caught flack for that too, in saying that on my videos and stuff, that I take advantage of hunting public land to keep the pressure off of my private land. Hey, I own that public land just as much as you do, so I'm going to take advantage of it as well. It gives me another opportunity, another challenge, if you will, to go out and hunt some public land, and I absolutely love it, and I am going to take advantage of it. Moving on, tree stand maintenance. It's a good time now. If you've got stands that you've been keeping out all year round, maybe you've had them out for a couple years now. Going through, loosening up straps if you can, maybe getting new straps, new cables, chains, whatever you have, if you have to. Checking those nuts and bolts and everything, checking the welds, so highly important to do. You guys, you got to stay safe, and it's all part of safety and maintaining your equipment and, keeping a well-oiled machine out there. And the last thing I want anybody to do is have a tree stand fail on them. I know it does happen, and it can happen whether it's brand new stand and definitely been out there for a while. You got to check them, but it's important, I find, this time of year before the trees really start growing. We get into the growing season and those trees start expanding with new growth, to go out, loosen those stands. If you want to keep them in the trees, at least loosen the straps on them so they don't grow into the trees. And because, like, I have a few stands that are in some maple trees, and maple trees and even some oak trees, they grow a lot faster than what we think they do. And the last thing I want you to do is have a tree stand or a tree strap snap on you, or if you're going to go out and move one around in the coming years, have to cut the straps on them. Straps, I know they're cheap, because I use a lot of extra straps on tree stands, ladder stands, whatnot. But at the same time, they add up year after year. If you got to keep replacing straps year in and year out. So moving on, roughing out those shooting lanes. If we're setting new stand locations, I want to be cutting shooting lanes now, at least getting them roughed out. And why now? Why not summer? Just wait till summertime. And you can, and I've done that before too. But for a lot of areas, those mature bucks, if you're going in August, September, clearing out those shooting lanes then, I just find doing it now, those mature bucks they're used to, by the time hunting season rolls around, they're used to what is going on. Now, you may tip them off knowing that your stand is there. Who knows? But getting them roughed out now, going back in July or August and getting the regrowth, like when the leaves are on, maybe a little twig branch that you didn't see this time of year. But now's a great time to go in, get those shooting lanes roughed out. And if I'm in a stand, I like to create like a star effect, at least have 5 different shooting lanes that I can clearly shoot through. Not too wide. I like to have them, like surgically done. I have a pole saw with a pruner on the end, my Fiskars, or I'm using my Heumann pole saw quite a bit. But I like to have at least 5, three in front of me that I can shoot off to my left, out in front of me, and over to my right if I have to, and then 2 behind me, one over my left shoulder, one over my right shoulder. Sometimes, depending what I have in the tree or limbs in the way, that's a different story. You got to have cover in the tree too, I feel. Some guys would say you don't need a lot of cover in a tree, but to each your own. Anyway, moving on. Figuring out different access. We continue the same old access points all the time on some of our stands. And maybe you're new to a property and you thought you had your access figured out and everything getting to a stand, and maybe you have a great stand location, but your access might have been off. Now's a great time. Maybe you have to hire someone like myself to come out and give you a second set of eyes and a second opinion on how we could access a stand location or two to better improve and not alert deer as we're approaching those stands come hunting season. Because the last thing you want to do, is, even if it's just a doe or just a fawn, that old doe, she's the smartest old warrior in the woods, is that doe. And if the more times you keep bumping her, it may only even take once, she's going to know you're there. She's going to know you're hunting, because eventually those deer, they pattern you. And we all know that. I'm not the only one that said it before. Number 8, get the family involved if you can, or friends. Whoever hunts your property, or your family just wants to get out, spend the day with you on the property, doing some shed hunting, doing some of these small projects. If you have little kids, it doesn't hurt to give them a little project that they can do. My son is 8 years old now, and I let him do quite a bit of handsaw work. I'm gonna be working with him. I run a little bit smaller chainsaw on the smaller end of chainsaws, as many of you've seen, because I'm in the woods practically all day. I like a lightweight saw. Maybe it's a lightweight saw that can't get through a lot of big stuff, but that's my preference, and I'm going to stick to that preference. But getting the kids involved, getting your family involved, just so they know what's going on. We're a family of hunters, and I like to have everyone involved. I've got a really good friend that hunts with me, and we like to schedule and coordinate our habitat days that we're going to be doing work. We like to schedule them together, schedule them ahead of time when he and I can get together and get some things hammered out. But getting the family involved too, that just saves me a lot of time and labor too, if I can get them to come out and work. And they don't have to. I don't make it a priority, and we make it fun. That's the whole thing. All of this stuff, if you're not having fun doing it, is it really worth it? For me, it's worth it, and I have a lot of fun doing it. And number 9, March is a great month to celebrate my birthday. My birthday, it happens to be St. Patrick's Day, so I usually call it an international holiday, and a lot of people celebrate my birthday, and a lot of people around the world celebrate my birthday. But I know that I'm not the only one that was born on March 17th. There's a lot of people. I have a lot of friends that were born on March 17th. But just wanted to throw that in there as a little extra, I guess. So those are the March habitat chores that I'm working on my property, and maybe you could be too. It just gives you an idea of some things that you could complete on your property here in the month of March. Thanks for joining me on this video. Again, if you haven't and you stayed all the way to the end, hit that subscribe button. I really appreciate it. Give this video a thumbs up, and hey, if you found something interesting in there and you want to share it, give it a share. I really appreciate you guys. Thanks for joining me. God bless you all, and keep living the dream. That's the most important.